Hello, friends. Welcome in. Good afternoon. May I be the first to say it is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. For the next 3 hours, we'll hold the court. We call it the Matt Murphy Radio Show. It's Thursday, September 21, 2023. It is our episode 420. I don't know what that means about what we should be doing during this episode, but, Bell, it's episode 420. Headless Bell behind the glass, making sure that everything. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Yeah, you need to put some ice in the bong water. It'll make it go down smoother. Bell K behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. I appreciate him. We call him Headless Bell because he chooses not to participate on the television side of things. Speaking of, you may on the F&M Bank chat line. We'd love to hear from you and talk with you. Super Talk TV up and running. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Lots of things going on over there. You miss an episode over on the Super Talk TV side, and you miss things like, look what I did. I don't know what Chris Hand is talking about. I mean, look.
What? That's just his mugshot.
It's his mugshot. I know. He's been yapping about some sort of vandalism that went down, and look.
Where?
That's what I'm talking about. I don't know. I think there's been some level of either exaggerations or perhaps some evidence tampering. One way or the other, all is well in the world. Glad to have you with us. Is it not?
Stream title?
Hold on the stream title front. September 21st, is this the last day of summer?
Yes. No, it's the first day of winter. Or fall, I should say. First day of fall.
You're just trying to confuse me. But I think at some point today, summer ends and fall begins, right?
Well, maybe that's technically true, but usually it's like the 21st is the start of
the start of
the
fall
season, the new season.
Feels like fall.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it feels kind of cool outside, a little less humidity. What is the we like to stream over on the Super Talk TV side of things, and Bell K titles the streams on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of like, episodes of a television show. What is today's episode title, Bell?
Matt Murphy, Statist Snitch. Listen and decide for yourself, noon to 3 p.m.
Look.
And remember, snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches, and I know that from my days back in the hood. So here's what I can tell you. I can tell you that I had nothing to do with the defacing of the mugshot.
I don't see any defacing.
Well, for what it's worth, right? I did have something to do with the cleaning up. So I also can tell you that snitches get stitches, and I'm with Hand. I think it's shameful, and I'll do everything in my power outside of telling you who did it to investigate this to its fullest.
So did he not really know that was a dry erase marker?
I'm kind of like Merrick Garland. No, I think I don't know. I don't know if he did or not. I don't know, but we've got everything back as it should be. I was having a little trouble getting Trump back up on the big board there. I think there's something a little odd about Trump being in front of a bunch of amigos, but be that as it may. All right, lots to get into today, as you might expect. On a day-to-day basis, we've got news. As Chris and I were talking during the break, it's news, but it doesn't feel new, right? The news indicates that there is a newness to the story that we're presenting to you, but we have a lot of old stories that we can't seem to get behind us because the Biden administration doesn't want us to get them behind us. To wit, you have the southern border crisis. I'm wondering at some point, is this not going to get to such an extreme that we're willing to actually do something about it? I remember back in 2007 and 2008, when George W. Bush was president of the United States, and they had the Gang of Eight. Does anyone else remember the Gang of Eight? I'm elephantine. I remember these things so you don't have to. I mean, right now we've got record high border crossings. We've got border crossings that have not been seen in these numbers since May. And May was the record. May was the pinnacle. May was the high water mark. We've never seen border crossings like we're seeing into the United States of America right now as we speak. Illegal aliens are crossing into the United States of America with impunity. As a matter of fact, when they find themselves in a difficult position where they have difficulty crossing illegally into the United States of America, our federal government is assisting them. Our federal government is assisting the illegal behavior. The United States of America is actively working to open the border, and agents of the federal government have gone so far as to cut down barriers placed by Texas officials in order to help facilitate illegal entry into the United States of America. 4,000 illegal aliens entered the country during a recent 24-hour period. And they're not just coming from Mexico. Oh, no. Your mama and daddy called. They want their border crisis back from the mid-2000s. These are individuals from South America, from Venezuela, from Brazil, from Haiti, from Guatemala, and on and on and on it goes, and from points unknown around the globe. President Joe Biden has repeatedly declared his position on this matter, stating that anyone who gets into the United States of America is allowed to stay, and that those individuals can get work permit in order to work. So the President of the United States of America, a man sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States, should we not have impeachment proceedings on this matter alone? For years, on Fridays we talk with our good friend and legal scholar Jay St. Clair. And I lean on Jay because I have such good faith and trust in him, and he's such a good friend. I get very emotional about these issues. And sometimes I allow my emotion to get in front of what the law says about things. And Jay's very black and white when it comes to, well, no, he's shades of gray. I'm black and white, he's shades of gray when it comes to what the law says about these things. And over the years, Jay has explained to me that the court system is going to give broad latitude to the executive branch of government as to how to exercise their duty to enforce the law. I remember when Obama was president of the United States, and it was obvious the Obama administration was not enforcing the laws on the southern border. And in my frustration, I demanded to know why the courts were not doing anything about this lack of enforcement. And my good friend Jay St. Clair reminded me that the courts are loath to get into the business of the legislative branch of government. They are loath to get into the business of the executive branch of government, and the executive branch has the ability to go to the court systems when demanded to and say, hey, we're trying our best. And that was the Obama administration's excuse, that they're trying their best. We're doing everything we possibly can to stop illegal alien activity, but there are just too many of them, and the border's too long, and all of that. Now, everyone and their brother knew that it was a lie, including probably those sitting on the court, but they accepted it. The Biden administration's not even saying that. They're flaunting the idea that they can dismiss the law. They can dismiss what the Constitution of the United States says. They can dismiss what the laws of the United States of America say about immigration, legal and otherwise, because they want the votes. And until and unless the American people actually stand up and take to the streets on this matter, nothing will be done. I remember in 2007 and 2008 when George W. Bush, along with John McCain and others, came up with a Gang of Eight plan to grant amnesty to illegal aliens. And there was one individual that stood in the way. Anybody want to remember who that was? I do, because I lived in that state at the time. He was Senator Jeff Sessions. And Jeff Sessions said no to amnesty. And he stood up to his fellow senators, fellow Republicans that were willing to acquiesce on the issue, and stood up to a Republican president of the United States of America on that deal. It only takes one good American to make a difference. And he inspired thousands and thousands of other Americans. I remember my listeners in Birmingham, Alabama at the time, mailing bricks to their congresspeople. You know, you take a brick and you write the address of your congressperson on it, and you write your return address, and you put postage on it, and you mail it. And bricks were delivered to the halls of the United States Congress as a symbol of what we want you to do to stop the flood of illegal alien activity in the United States of America. And yet now, 15 years later, it is as bad as it's ever been, and it's only getting worse. Illegal alien activity in the United States of America is like the weather. Everyone wants to talk about it. No one wants to do anything about it. We'll talk about it today, and we'll find out what you would prescribe as a path of success on that matter. We'll do that coming up in just a little bit as we take your telephone calls. But first, we will talk to the Secretary of State of the great state of Tennessee. That is Trey Hargett, and he will join us in moments to talk about voter registration in this state, amongst other things. It's 12:15 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Efficient heating and cooling. My man Jeff Eddy wants to see you. You need to maintenance that heater before you turn it on. You don't want to smell that smell. You know the one I'm talking about. And Jeff Eddy can assist you in that regard. Efficient heating and cooling of Tennessee has the best value around. They'll never charge you over $125 for a maintenance call, no matter how many units you might have. And oftentimes, it's considerably less than $125. Now, at some point, you have to replace a heating unit. You certainly don't want to pay more than you have to. Jeff Eddy keeps his overhead down. He keeps his invoices small. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. I encourage you to go online at efficienthvac.net to find out more. Schedule an appointment today by calling 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for efficient heating and cooling. I trust Jeff Eddy. I trust him in my home, and I know that you can too. He is, simply put, the best when it comes to your heating unit in your home. Give him a call when you need today. It's efficient heating and cooling. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1219. Thank you for being with us on the Matt Murphy Radio Show. It's a pleasure to welcome the Secretary of State of the great state of Tennessee, Trey Hargett, to the program on the Matt Murphy Hotline as we talk about Voter Registration Month. Secretary of State, good afternoon. Hope you're well.
Good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk with you. We haven't spoken, feels like a month of Sundays, but now's a good time to do it because it is Voter Registration Month. Tell us why this is important to you and why you're trying to get the message out.
Well, as our team works with all 95 counties to run elections, and we really just believe that the most fundamental way people participate in our form of government is by exercising their right to vote. And you can't vote if you don't register, at least not in Tennessee. And we want to make sure that people get registered to vote and participate in the elections.
And obviously, everyone wants to believe that their vote matters. And you kind of referenced it in your answer there, Trey, that in Tennessee, we believe that we have the most integrous voting system in the United States of America. I think that the proof's in the pudding there. Would you not agree?
Well, don't take your word for it, my word for it. I mean, the Heritage Foundation's ranked Tennessee as number one in the nation for election integrity. Now, there's a lot of other states who are gunning for us and trying to change their laws and change their processes so they can be number one. But, we want to make sure that when people in Tennessee cast their vote, they can know it's counted once, no more, no less, and so that they can have confidence in the elections. Because if you don't have confidence in the elections, that erodes your confidence in our form of government.
Where do we go? Because there's so much discussion about election integrity, not so much in the state of Tennessee, I'm proud to say, Trey, but across the United States of America. And I hear from a lot of our listeners how concerned they are about voting integrity across the country moving into 2024. Where do you recommend, for Tennesseans at least, that they find accurate election information? Is it as simple as going to your website?
Well, sure. You can visit govotn.gov. You can also reach out to your local election commission as well. The key is that and we're reaching out to people through social media. We're always trying to work through other organizations now. We create a program called Your Vote Matters, in which we partner with nonprofit organizations and chambers of commerce, business organizations across the state so that they will use their spheres of influence to help people understand how to participate in the elections, and then also to know that their votes being counted accurately and that the elections are being run honestly. So, right now, Secretary of State's offices across the country are so polarized, and I recognize that I'm a Republican. That there's some people in this state as the presidential election year rolls around next year, they're going to tune me out. Frankly, they're going to think that he's the Republican Secretary of State, and they're not going to necessarily believe everything I have to say. And we want people to be able to also trust in other organizations out there that they are well connected to, whether it's church, whether it's business, what have you, that can help us continue to put out that trusted source of information.
Secretary of State Trey Hargett is with us for just a couple of additional moments. I know your time is limited, Trey, but I wanted to ask you more broadly if you had any suggestions, words of advice, or solace from a national perspective. And I know that you don't have control over the other states in this great union. Those secretaries of state have the ability to control their elections. But are there any words of advice that you would have for them should they take it? And any words of solace for the citizens of the state of Tennessee who watch what's going on in some of these other states and just kind of shake our heads?
Well, for my colleagues across the country, what I would say is you can't sacrifice integrity for convenience. And so we always want to make sure that every eligible person has the opportunity to vote, but you've got to make sure that you also have systems in place to protect them that. And I know it's frustrating for Tennesseans as they see some of the stories that they read from across the country. But I think the real key, too, if I were encouraging people, is listen to what Bill Hagerty said. I listened to him say this recently. Is that while Republicans, frankly, were focused on process and law and arguing about those things in previous election cycles, frankly, Democrats were kicking their butts and go ahead and getting their votes in the bank. And so I think Republicans, need to be more concerned with actually getting their votes in the box and actually going out and trying to campaign and work for it. And frankly, Democrats have been just outworking Republicans in that way. But the bottom line is, we call balls and strikes. For us, we just want every Tennessean, regardless of Democrat, Republican, Independent, get out and exercise their right to vote because it makes our society stronger when everybody gets out and participates.
It's National Voter Registration Month. Give me the website one more time before I have to say goodbye, Secretary.
Sure. GoVoteTN.gov.
GoVoteTN.gov for more information about what the Secretary's been talking about. Trey, come and see us sometime. We'd love to sit down with you a little bit longer. I know you've got to go. I appreciate you being on with us today.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good day.
Take care. There's Trey Hargett, Secretary of State, joining us for a few good minutes. Had to be out by 25. And look, I got it by like 10 seconds. Got him out of there by 25. So how good am I? It is frustrating because I'll say this, and I didn't have time to delve into it with Trey, but it is true. I watch Republican secretaries of state around the United States of America act in the spirit of integrity and honesty. And I don't see that with Democrats. Republican secretaries of state seem to, with maybe a few exceptions. I could point to Georgia as one of them, frankly, in the 2020 election cycle, certainly. They are careful to balance their political affiliation with a desire to keep integrity at the foremost of the system of government that we currently enjoy, which is the finest system ever devised by man. But that system crumbles if its foundation is cut out from underneath it. And that foundation exists on the balance of fairness. Only those are allowed to vote that are allowed to vote. Everyone is allowed to vote in an equitable fashion, meaning you're not going to be denied the ability to vote because of a condition of your birth, for example, unless that condition of your birth is that you were born outside of the United States of America and you've not assimilated as a United States citizen. But there are very few requirements in terms of how you get to vote in the United States. However, many secretaries of state around the U.S. have decided that they're going to put their thumbs on the scale for their own purposes. And it has absolutely destroyed our belief in the United States that there is a system that we can believe in. But not here in Tennessee. And that's what's most frustrating. Is that I can talk to Trey about voter registration month. I can talk to Trey about getting out the vote. I can talk to him about integrity at the ballot box. And he can point to the system in the state of Tennessee as an example of how to do things right. And then I ask him about Pennsylvania or Georgia or Wisconsin or Michigan. And he's going to shake his head right along with me and you. It is sadly a failure. I won't call it a failure. Let me take that back. It is an exploitation of our system. That if the voters select dishonest people to act in positions of power over our election system, that they can do dishonest things against the better judgment of the people or the legislatures that the people vote into power. Example, Pennsylvania. Local districts within local election officials, county election officials at the probate level, and even the Secretary of State allowed illegal voting in the state of Pennsylvania in 2020. They allowed dated ballots to come in after the date certain which they were to be cut off, and they commingled those ballots in with the legal ballots, which they were not permitted to do. And they did it anyway. Georgia did the same thing. So, I mean, not to delve too deeply into it, because we've talked about this. You know this as well as I do. The state of Georgia, forget whether or not we should be doing mail-in ballots. They did mail-in ballots. However, your ballot had to be postmarked by a certain day. Well, the Democrats argued, wait a minute. Well, if I fill it out before Election Day and it's postmarked after Election Day, you should count that ballot. No, that's not what the law says. The law says the postmark on the ballot has to be by Election Day, and if it's after Election Day, those ballots are to be thrown out. Legally, those ballots were to be thrown out. Do you know what they did with those ballots? They included them. They opened them, and they put them in the pile with the legal ballots. And once they're in the pile, you can't figure out what's legal and what's not legal. That's at least a part of the genesis of the American frustration on the integrity of the vote. Now, in the state of Tennessee, I don't think there's any question that our elections are on the up and up. I have every faith in Trey Hargett, and I appreciate him coming on today to promote the idea of getting the youngsters registered to vote. Tennessee is ranked number 1 in the country for election integrity, and there's good reason for that. It's 1230, Super Talk 99.7, WTN. I've now lost 34 and a half pounds. Thank you to PhD Weight Loss. I'm excited because I get on the scale. I only weigh once a week. Weighing more than that, I'm obsessing anyway, but I know that I've lost additional weight. I know that I'll be able to tell you a new number tomorrow afternoon, and I'll be able to tell my nutritionist, my dietitian, Rachel, the new number tomorrow morning as we have our weekly consultation. That's one of the great things about PhD Weight Loss. Yes, they have a system that's just guaranteed to succeed. You follow the system and it works, and it's so easy to follow the system. Right? You don't have to worry. You know what you're eating on a regular basis. You know that you'll have consultation on a regular basis. And if you have pitfalls or, vacations like I had coming up, they're there to help guide you through some of that field that might lead you to, tripping up. But they don't let that happen at PhD Weight Loss. Dr. Ashley Lucas has a plan in place. She's got great people like Rachel, my consultant, in place. And I'll tell you, I heartily recommend if you're looking to lose weight, this is a great way to do it. Men lose between 3 and 5 pounds per week on average. Women, 2 to 3 pounds per week. And if you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, here's the PhD guarantee. They continue to coach you for free until you do. Go to myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com. I'm like 35 minutes into the show. I'm still closing down Chris Hand windows. Man, oh man, he's got a lot of windows up over here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you until 3 o'clock. The Drive with Brian Wilson at that point. It's information-fueled and opinion-driven news talk radio for the masses. 1236. Happy that you've joined us. You're welcome to call 615-737-9986 if you have anything on your mind. We are excited to invite Senator Bill Hagerty to the show at about 1:35 this afternoon. That's in about an hour. We will speak to the good senator from the state of Tennessee. And once again, that's coming up at about 1:35. Your questions or thoughts, obviously, on Super Talk, Super Text, or you can throw them at me via email, via, whatever platform of your choosing. I'm on the X, the old X, at Matt Murphy Show. I'm in a lot of different places on there. Matt, all of those were Republicans in Georgia. I mentioned the Republicans in Georgia, 1833. I hope that you heard that. I understand that a lot of the things that happened in Georgia happened because of the Republicans. However, Georgia's circumstances were slightly different than the ones that I was describing from Pennsylvania. So the Pennsylvania circumstances, the legislature actually went and voted, reasserted their belief in how the vote was to be taken and how to deal with mail-in balloting. And the Supreme Court sadly overruled the assertions of the legislature and said that voting rights were more important than the rules of voting in the state of Pennsylvania, essentially. But none of that is going to matter unless you and I and everyone else in the United States of America do something about illegal immigration. In the midst of a flood of illegal immigrants coming into the United States of America, the Biden administration is now saying the quiet part out loud. The Biden administration announced yesterday that it will grant temporary legal status to 500,000 illegal aliens from Venezuela so that they can pursue work in the United States of America, taking jobs, presumably, away from Americans. The Homeland Security Department announced the extension and redesignation of Venezuela for temporary protected status for 18 months, which allows 472,000 illegal aliens who have arrived in this country as of July 31st to remain legally and to work. The move was green-lighted by none other than Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Venezuelan migrants have accounted for a large portion of those who have crossed the border from Latin America in recent years. Temporary status, said Mayorkas, temporary protected status provides individuals already present in the United States with protection from removal when the conditions in their home country prevent their safe return. That is the situation of Venezuelans who arrive here on or before July 31st of this year find themselves in. We are accordingly granting them protection that the law provides.
I wonder what makes Venezuela so dangerous.
I don't know. Socialism? Oh,
really?
I know. They had to eat the flamingos. Remember that?
Yeah, it's. I'm joking, but it's pretty. I mean, disastrous.
It's gross. It's awful down there. But you know what? We cannot protect the rest of the world from themselves, and we most certainly can't protect socialists from themselves. And sadly, if you take a bunch of socialist citizens from socialist countries and you bring them here, they will vote socialist policies into being that will create socialism in the United States of America. We discussed this yesterday, playing the clip from Louis C.K., the idiot comedian that thinks that we should open all of our borders. Well, he is also saying the quiet part out loud. And it occurred to me last night, and I kind of hardened on this issue, and I'm not trying to preach to the choir. My grandfather always told me, you know what? You're allowed to preach to the choir a little bit, but when you start condemning the choir to hell, next Sunday you're not going to have a choir because the choir will find someone else, somewhere else to sing. And what I mean by that is this. I understand that you get it, but it's not enough to get it anymore. What are we going to do about it? I don't know the answer to that either. We vote properly in the state of Tennessee. I'm going to talk about something that might get me in a spot of bother. But it is on my heart. It is on my heart. How do y'all see this ending? How do you see it ending? The left will never stop, ever. Everyone's afraid to talk about what we all see in front of us in our lifetime. And we call talk radio shows and we talk about possibilities and we nibble around the edges and we fight amongst ourselves. And how do you see this ending? 615-737-9986. War? We dissolve the political bands that connect us? When in the course of human events, right? Isn't that what we declared at one point? No one is supposed to suggest this because none of us want it. To say it out loud is to give ammunition to your political enemies that we are suggesting this is what we want to occur. I don't think any one of us want any of this to occur. I don't think we want a porous southern border that dissolves the sovereignty of the United States of America, but we have it. What are we willing to do about it? When I was a kid, and it was a lot longer ago than I would like to admit. When I was a kid, 10 years old or so, in the early to mid 1980s, the concept of a country being so, we fought then, right? We were fresh off of Carter. Reagan was coming in. There was hope and opportunity. It was morning again in America, and that was a good thing. I'm not trying to be heavy-handed in any of this, but if I sit up late at night on a Friday night or a Saturday night, have a little brown water in my body, I can't escape where I see all of this going. And as many of the important issues that we discuss on the radio show, some of them seem absurd considering the real battles that we face and our inability to coalesce around a singular idea that would galvanize us to fight those battles. We should be united in our effort to stop the flood, the invasion of illegal alien activity across our southern border. That should not be a political issue. Not when New York City's being overrun and Eric Adams is demanding the Democrats do something about it. When you have a political party that is hell-bent on corrupting the legal system so as to not see the equality of justice that we've come to expect, then that is the foundational degradation of a singular branch of government that is vital to our existence and vital to ensuring the election integrity that must be in place to ensure the existence of the other two branches of government. Yet none of us want to talk about it because it's too overwhelming. It's not that difficult in my mind to conceive of it intellectually. What I fear is what we are set to watch happening in real time. And we are insulated from it in the state of Tennessee. We're insulated from it largely in the Southeast. But as more and more individuals grow in blue and purple areas, as more and more people are put into place in blue and purple areas, and yes, even in the state of Tennessee, you're going to see an advancement of the style of statism or socialism that brings countries to their knees. And I don't expect that the American people are going to sit around idly by and do nothing about it. 1742 just wrote in just moments ago. A lot of super text are coming in on this matter and a lot of calls, too. You're welcome to call me at 615-737-9986. Matt, we can talk about it until the cows come home, but actions speak a lot louder than words. I don't know what those actions are supposed to be. It is an exploitation of the system of government that we enjoy that the Democrats are relying on to gain and hold political power. And I don't know how any of this ends. I'm allowing my pessimistic side to come out in me right now. I am naturally predisposed to be pessimistic about the future of the United States of America, but I try my best desperately every day. Every day that I get up, I try to be optimistic because I believe in the people of this country. I believe in you. But sadly, over the course of the last 40 years of my life, I've watched as the politicians slowly but surely erode away your ability to take away their political power when you believe that their political power extends beyond their constitutional responsibilities. And that frightens me. And so I would say I don't know how any of this ends except to say badly. Rodney's in Spring Hill with a thought on all of this. Hey, Rodney, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I just got a question. When I was growing up, started working and stuff, they had this thing called E-Verify to make sure that illegal aliens didn't get a job. Whatever happened to that?
I don't think E-Verify never became federal law. Right now, we work off the I-9 system, which was passed through the Simpson-Mazzoli Act. I think that's 1985 or 1986. But sadly, illegal aliens know and understand how to completely exploit the I-9 system. And I don't know that there's a lot of checks on the part of the federal government anymore anyway. In other words, I don't know how much we're relying on even the I-9 system, but E-Verify was a good way to modernize the I-9 system of verification of legal status of the United States of America, but right now it's a dog and pony show, Rodney.
All right. Well, I was just.
I mean, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
I mean, right. E-Verify was a suggestion for those who don't know. The I-9 system was created, and once again, it was passed, and I think it was Simpson-Mazzoli. You fact checkers out there, fact check me on that. In the mid-1980s, Ronald Reagan agreed to amnestize about 3 million illegal aliens on the premise and promise that we would get southern border security. This was a compromise position between the Democrats and Republicans. The Republicans wanted money for border security. The Democrats held the House of Representatives at the time. The House wanted to amnestize the illegal aliens, and amongst the concessions that the Republicans got was a verification system called I-9.
Is that when you get a new job, and is that the part where you've got to show an ID,
yep. And,
two IDs,
yeah.
and okay.
Yeah, prior to the 80s, didn't exist. Most employers would want to see identification, but you did not have to show specific forms of ID. Now you have to show the old driver's license or the green card. You have to show your social security card, passport, or whatnot. You have to show those two forms. And they, if you've ever been in management, you have to make copies of that and keep it in the employee file. That's the I-9 system. Well, there was a recommendation that never got passed through the federal government called E-Verify that would electronically verify that you were who you say you are. And it never came to fruition, although it should have been an easy lift. on the part of conservatives. Jason writes that it was Reagan's biggest failure. It was a failure of Ronald Reagan's to trust the Democrats. The Democrats agreed to give him I-9. That was an agreement that was made between the Democrats and the Republicans. And Reagan agreed to amnestize the illegal aliens who were already in the country on the premise and promise that the Democrats would hand over funding for border security. And they never did. They never did. We'll get to more calls momentarily. 1251 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, as you get older, you worry about your health. You want to live a long and healthy life, as least as healthy as you possibly can. What if I told you there was a technology available to you that could identify issues that were going on inside of your body before you noticed them, before you became, as they call it, symptomatic? Well, that system is here in Nashville. It's called Kraft Body Scan, CT scan for you, and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. Matter of fact, only $149. You can get a heart and lung scan. Not just yourself, but your significant other as well, or your brother or your cousin or your friend, whomever. Bring them along, $149. Two people will see the scan. It starts with a private health consultation where the folks of Kraft Body Scan learn a little bit more about you. Then you are scanned on site. The actual scan only takes about 5 to 8 minutes. The technology is incredible. I was fascinated with it when I had my scan. The images are then reviewed by board-certified radiologists. They identify any issues that they might see. They'll consult with you, and then they will contact you. Patients will be called, and the results will be reviewed individually. Ideally, they find nothing, and you get peace of mind. But if there is something, you identify it early, and your chance for success and to overcome that issue is far greater than if you wait until you're symptomatic. That's what it's all about at Kraft Body Scan. Go to Kraft, spell Kraft with a C, bodyscan.com. That's craftbodyscan.com, or give them a call to schedule an appointment today. 615-436-1000, 436-1000, Kraft Body Scan. By the way, just to clean this up, I know that E-Verify is a part of the state system of verification for many states around the country, but it is not a federal requirement and never has been. For example, California made it explicitly illegal to use E-Verify as a condition of employment. So just wanted to clean that up. It is the Matt Murphy Show, 2 hours to go on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, a depressing first hour of the Matt Murphy Show. I apologize. Those of you at lunch, trying to have a nice lunch, listen to the news of the day, and here's the negative Nelly on the radio broadcast, bringing everybody down and talking about Civil War. It's 1:04. Good afternoon. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm going to try to be in a better spirit, although it's difficult, what with some of the news going on. Joe Biden sending more troops to the southern border. Crossings have risen. He has essentially amnestized 500,000 Venezuelans through Alejandro Mayorkas. That's what's going on to the south of us. In the meantime, to the north of us in Washington, D.C., they're overspending to the point that we are now $33 trillion in debt with no end in sight. Well, and you know, the last $1 trillion of that, I didn't realize this. Do you know the last $1 trillion of that happened in the last 4 months? In the last 4 months? Are you kidding me?
And he still claims that he's lowered the deficit more than any other president.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. And the Republicans cannot get concessions for the Democrats to offer them pre-COVID levels of overspending. Pre-COVID levels of overspending. All right, in the meantime, I've got this communication, and I'll get to your calls momentarily. By the way, 1:35 today, Senator Bill Hagerty will join us. Maybe he'll make me feel better about things. But 3449 writes in. We were discussing the differences in political ideology between conservatives and, the political left. And I make a distinction between political ideology and political party. I do not believe that every Republican is a conservative, nor do I believe that every conservative is a Republican, nor do I identify as either of those things. Never have. I'm my own man. So 4269 just said, hell, now I've had to have a drink for lunch. Thanks a lot, Matt. Well, that's what I'm here for. Just go ahead. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Why not? But 3449 writes, and this is important, the idea that Democrats are the problem and that GOP are the saviors, or vice versa, is a pathetically lazy notion. We, the people, have all the power, yet the people keep giving our power to two parties who take turns increasing the size and scope and budget of government at all levels constantly year over year. As George Washington said would happen in his farewell address. Washington was not a big fan of the two-party system, I will agree with you, or a party system whatsoever. The two parties are about their power and not the people they serve, and no one doubts it. In Tennessee alone, the budget has all but tripled since the GOP grabbed the supermajority. Until we tell them both at the same time that we, the people, are done supporting them, there's no fixing the problem. Well, I never mentioned political parties. I did talk about statists, and I believe that statism is a political ideology, not a political party. And 3449 writes, the whole premise is that Democrats are bad and the GOP is good, and you literally said that Tennessee votes right. Tennessee does vote to the right to an ideological perspective. Now, you can say that that is right as in correct if you want to, but I don't want to confuse political party and political ideology. I have no particular love for the GOP except that they're a damn sight better than the Democrats in almost every aspect of the game. But that doesn't mean that they're perfect. Far from it. A lot of times they're not even good, especially when it comes to overspending. What I would say, 3449, is I don't think we're very far off in our belief on this matter. I've long said that today's Democrats are yesterday's Republicans. Today's Democrats are yesterday's Republicans. Today's Republicans are yesterday's Democrats. Let me say that right. Today's Republicans are yesterday's Democrats. Today's Democrats are yesterday's socialists, is what I meant to say. The ideological shift over my lifetime is obvious. There are no more physical conservatives in Washington, D.C., and sadly, we don't vote them up there. Now, I'll talk to Bill Hagerty, and he'll claim that he's one. When will the statesmen shut the government down until such time as we get fiscal sanity back into the United States of America? And we are $33 trillion in debt. And because of Joe Biden's inflationary rates, we see our interest rates going up. And those interest rates are going to affect the amount of interest that we have to pay on the amount of money that the federal government owes itself. Meaning that you're about to add some $500 or so million in interest payments alone to the burdensome federal debt. And there are very few people that discuss this. You add the cultural wars that we are going through, we're already in an ideological civil war. And Mitch McConnell, yes, is a great example of a Republican that acts like a Democrat. Jim is in Hendersonville with thoughts on this subject. Hey, Jim, how are you? Hello, Jim. All right, we lost Jim. Jeff, how about you? Jeff is also in Hendersonville. Maybe we can get the other Jay to speak. Hey, Jay.
Hey, how you doing? Man, you're hitting the nail on the head. Things, but I would just say in terms of the southern border, I'm from Southern California, now in Hendersonville. And about 2 months ago, I helped a lady from Chiapas get her children enrolled in a local elementary school here. I translated all the forms. I was there for 2 hours. My Spanish is pretty good, but she had no idea how to do any of this stuff. And it occurred to me that we know what the Democrats are doing. The play here is they just need the votes. They're using the immigrants, illegal or not, dream of America against them. They're going to use them for their votes. They just need another term, really. We know, look at how much damage they've done thus far. But it occurred to me, what if we could reach these people somehow, all of these immigrants? There's 3 million potential votes that are going to be conservative because they are pro-life. They are pro-work. They're anti-socialist for the most part. They're pro-religion. They're everything that we identify with, but they're being used like the rest of us are. So, I mean, I don't know how we do that. I've already done it on a local level. I would just encourage everybody to do the same if you can seek these people out, get a translator, whatever, and just tell them if they vote Democrat, this is what you're going to get. But I did with this lady, and she was incredulous. So, my 2 cents. But, man, here I am calling into a radio show. I talked about it with my neighbor last night. There is no real crystalline organization or person other than Trump that we can really rally around, and it's disheartening. But anyway, my 2 cents. Thanks for listening.
Jeff, I'm glad you called. Please don't, if this is your first call to our radio show, do not make it your last. We need more conversation. We need conversation that leads to action. Action in the form of going to the polls and voting, but also direct action in concert with and in some cases against the desires of our government. That's American. One of the biggest lies being told in the aftermath of January 6th is that it is not American to engage in our constitutional rights. Congress shall make, let's see if I remember it. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. The hidden agenda behind the lashing out against those that extended beyond that word peaceably on January 6th, and they did. There's no question that many people violated the Constitution by violating the word peaceably as they assembled to petition the government for a redress of grievances. They also violated it's an unlawful parade, it's an unlawful assembly, it was an unlawful disruption of a government function. All of those things are true. But the Democrats are now, and leftists more broadly, are exploiting that event to suggest that any peaceable assembly, any peaceable petition is somehow anti-America. Well, it might be anti-government, but something anti-government is not anti-America. We ought to be anti-government when our government is literally cutting razor wire placed by the Texas National Guard. This is a story that broke today. In the state of Texas, The National Guard set up razor wire in certain areas to prevent the continued illegal border crossings that are going on in that state. Eagle Pass, specifically. And now the United States of America is actively working to open up those border areas by literally cutting the razor wire. And in response, this is what the Biden White House has to say.
There was footage yesterday of Border Patrol cutting some of the razor wire that Texas had installed. Governor Abbott has vowed to reinstall it. They have his border czar has pictures of people taking fresh razor wire out to the border to reinstall it. Is there now a federal policy of removing the barriers that Texas is installing?
So here's what
why?
I'll say. I would have to look into that. I did see those reports yesterday, but as it relates to Governor Abbott, we know what he has done these past couple of years while this president has been in office. He's turned this, when it comes to the border, he's turned this into a political stunt, and that's what he's done over and over again. That's what I can speak to. I did see those reports. I would have to go back and get a sense from the team and give you an answer on that.
These people, they're pieces of work. Man. So Greg Abbott's trying to stop illegal immigration, and Greg Abbott is the political official that's engaged in political stunts. Got it. Hey, Representative Mike Sparks is joining us on the line. Hey, Mike, how are you, man?
Hey, doing good. I just wanted to tell you I appreciate your show. Appreciate what that last caller had to say. Matt, I've learned the word nefarious here at the state capitol. I don't trust the federal government, don't trust the FBI, and I'm a state lawmaker. Just for the record, I don't trust them at all. But we've got John DeBerry coming into the Laverne community for a revival. We're calling it Revive Rutherford. And the folks don't know what happened to John DeBerry, who was a 26-year lawmaker, marched with Dr. King, was at the mountaintop speech. The Tennessee Democrat Party took him off the ballot. I didn't even know this was even legal. I'm told this goes all the way up to Biden and Obama. That's what I've heard. But John's going to be here in Laverne, Grace Community Church, Saturday from 2 to 3:30. If folks are joining us Saturday, people need to hear what John has got to say before something happens to John. He's in his 70s. They took him off the ballot. Then Governor Bill Lee hired him as an advisor. But the word nefarious, about John's story, it really is nefarious what's going on in our country today.
When is he in town again, Mike?
Saturday at Grace Church in Laverne from 2. He'd probably arrive about 2:15. But people need to know what happened to John. Sadly, the mainstream media will never tell you what happened to John because they keep this stuff censored. They don't want this out there because if African Americans knew what happened to John DeBerry, remember a guy that marched with Dr. King, a guy that was at the mountaintop speech, 26-year lawmaker out of Memphis, and they took him off the ballot. What they meant for evil, God meant for good, because fortunately we've got a great governor that literally seen the wisdom and discernment with John DeBerry and hired him as a special advisor. He's the first African American to be on the first floor at the state capitol. The mainstream media will never tell you this because it does not play in the narrative. It's part of agenda setting theory, and I think you've got a journalism background, so you get these things where most people don't get them. But we've got to do a better job of reaching the Latino community. Latinos for Tennessee will be there. Tommy Vallejos, Lisette Lopez, Francis Rosales, and Raul Lopez with Latinos for Tennessee should be there as well Saturday.
Well, I'm glad you called. I'm glad you're highlighting the event Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock in Laverne. And Mike, I wish I could be there. I can't. I've got an event, but you let me know anytime an event like that is happening. I would love to support your effort to open that tent and to make sure that everyone in the state of Tennessee, regardless of background, regardless of political past, they understand that there's a place for them amongst those that believe in the Constitution of the United States of America and believe in the manner in which our founding fathers did their business. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Keep
Absolutely.
up the good work, sir.
Thanks, Mike. There's Representative Mike Sparks joining in for a few moments. We'll welcome Senator Bill Hagerty coming up in about 15 minutes or so on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Talk to him about a number of matters. Maybe we'll bring up what Karine Jean-Pierre had to say or didn't have to say about the record-breaking 10,000 illegal aliens crossing the southern border in a single day.
Thanks, Green. So what do you call it here at the White House when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So what do you call it, Peter, when GOP puts forth a wait, no, you can't.
Karine?
I'm answering. Okay, we're gonna move
You're
on.
answering
No,
the
no,
question
no,
with a
no,
question?
no,
Okay.
no. We're moving on. We're
Karine,
moving.
please.
In the back. Go
Now,
ahead.
you said you were
Go ahead,
stopping the
in
flow
back.
at the border.
No. I
10,000
tried to
migrants-
answer, Peter. I
okay.
tried to answer the question. You stopped me. Let's go. Go ahead.
You see how they work? See how they do? Peter asks a question. They refuse to call it a flood of illegal alien activity. They say that they have the border handled. 10,000 people cross the border. They get called out. And when she won't answer the question and he tries to get her to answer the question, oh, I tried. I'm moving on. Moving on. Here's what she did have to say.
Karine, the administration said yesterday it was granting temporary legal status to hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans. At the same time, the city of Eagle Pass in the Rio Grande has announced a state of emergency because of immigrant surge. Is there any concern that the timing of this Venezuelan TPS announcement might exacerbate what's happening in Eagle Pass right now? And essentially, is this going to make the situation in Eagle Pass worse?
So look, we have worked very hard. The president have worked very hard to implement a strategy when it comes to the border that is humane, safe, and has orderly enforcement. That is something that we have tried to do and worked really hard to do these last 2 years.
You know, they give lip service along these lines, but they know exactly what they're doing. There are entities that are making decisions, whether it be Barack Obama, John Podesta, Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, amongst others, that understand that the more that they cause holy hell to erupt in America, the closer they get to the transformation that Barack Obama claimed that he wanted so many years ago. And they know what they're doing. And until the media recognizes, the mainstream media, the 90% of the media that is allowing this to go on, until they try genuinely to get the serious nature of what's happening in this country to the American people, it's going to continue. I sadly believe that a lot of us are going to have to suffer. We are going to have to go through darkness before we see light. And we are going to have to experience a time in this country where there is doubt in the United States' future in order to get us back on a good path. That's how desperate I think the situation is. I'm not trying to overstate it. I'm just trying to be honest with you. It is becoming increasingly difficult for me to talk about. I have a difficult time. I'm going to have a difficult time talking to Bill Hagerty today because I have a difficult time biting around the edges and talking about these little nothing issues when all I want to tell them to do is to shut the government down until enough Americans recognize what's going on. Shut it to the ground. Like Kevin McCarthy said, well, some people in our party want to burn it to the ground. Yeah, that's true. I don't belong to your political party, but I belong to that belief that more Americans are going to have to experience what's really going on to truly understand it. Do you see what happened in San Francisco the other day? Tourists that stopped to see the Golden Gate Bridge. They parked in a parking lot that's designated for the Golden Gate Bridge. You can't park in a parking lot that's designated to go and view the Golden Gate Bridge anymore because the homeless lawlessness has descended upon those places where tourism goes. There are no cops to stop it. They know that. So these people parked. They were walking to the Golden Gate Bridge. They were 100 yards away from their car, and people drove up and broke into their vehicle. One guy got drugged like 100 yards trying to stop them from stealing his things. These are regular occurrences in major American cities, once great cities. 124 on Super Talk. All right, friends, let's talk about my favorite podcast around. It's the Mill Creek View, Tennessee podcast. Steve Abramowitz does such a great job. You know, he had a mayoral candidate in Franklin, Tennessee on the show the other day, Gabrielle Hanson. You got to go watch it yourself. You have to listen to it yourself. He also has other candidates that are running for those local Franklin races. He covers Franklin like the morning dew, but really he covers all of Tennessee and all across the United States of America. You can find him on Deezer, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, all of your favorite podcast apps. And occasionally you'll find Steve right here on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Now, they've got Mill Creek View, Tennessee. They've also got other great Mill Creek View platforms that are out and are coming. Steve is the CEO and editor-in-chief of the Mill Creek View newspaper as well. That is mcview.us. Go there to find that website. I know I go there on a regular basis. I encourage you to do so as well. mcview.us and find the Mill Creek View Tennessee podcast. I love it, and I think you will too. Steve Abramowitz and Mill Creek View. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 129. Thank you for being with us. Matt Murphy Show. I am desperate to get in a better humor. You know what I need? I need a dry erase marker and a picture of Donald Trump. That's what I need.
I apologize. I didn't think of this solution earlier.
What? Oh,
you're welcome.
I mean, I'll leave.
You know what? Normally I would call that sarcasm, but today I don't doubt you.
You know what? I'm beginning to think that you did this to me. Because
No.
I'm beginning to think you did. I came in and I thought I was in an okay mood. And you said, "Are you okay?" You look down. And I went off on you. Like, I'm fine. Don't ask me if I'm fine when I'm fine.
I hate you. Why don't you get some disease and die?
That's close enough. We'll call it a direct quote. I got to get in a better mood, man. I mean, I just look around and I'm thinking this country's going to hell in a handbasket, and I don't know what to do about it. Maybe Vincent can help me. Hey, Vincent, help me.
Hey, sir, I got a friend that works for the Texas Highway Patrol, and I asked him about the fence. He verified that is true. They are cutting the wire that they are putting up on their own.
It's unbelievable. Well, it's all too believable because this is a part. And you know what? We're going to talk. I'm sorry to suspend the call, but I'm looking at the clock here, and I'm told I've got to run, Vincent. But I appreciate your call. Call back at some future time, and we'll talk at more length. You're right. Absolutely. It's been verified on multiple different occasions. The Biden administration is actively working against officials and organizations in Texas to prevent their ability to stop illegal alien activity. Senator Bill Hagerty will speak to this in mere moments. He held a press conference about it yesterday. We'll talk to him about it right after this. It's 1:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Tennessee Men's Clinic has 2 locations to serve you. I knew that the southern locale, that would be in Franklin or Cool Springs, was doing really good work. But until I walked through the Midtown doors and I saw the great folks in the Midtown location, I asked them how it was going. They said, man, it's been fabulous because the folks in the South can now go to Cool Springs. That opens up appointment opportunities in our Midtown location. What we're talking about, gentlemen, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, or drive, if you feel sluggish or run down, if you're feeling tired or grumpy, if you've noticed weight gain or loss of muscle mass, then you need to get to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Allow them an opportunity to check your numbers. You know, I just recently had my numbers checked. I go in, they draw a little blood work, and within about 30 minutes, they have those numbers at your fingertips, and they can prescribe an avenue of success for you. And that's going to make you feel better. It's going to give you more energy. It's going to give you more drive, and it's going to give you information that you need to make sure you're maximizing your health. They're reinventing men's health care at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. So if you feel any of these issues that I've described, please make the call. Make the appointment. Don't wait like the other guys have done. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com is the website. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or 615-208-9090. 208-9090 for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy Show continues. Halfway home this Thursday edition, September 21. It's the last day of summer, first day of fall. I think I have that correct. One way or the other, we've been discussing activity on the southern border, the White House's response to it. Yesterday, Senator Bill Hagerty held a press conference with fellow GOP senators regarding the southern border and a Republican-led solution to strengthen the southern border, as well as to stop the flow of illegal alien activity coming into the United States of America. To speak on this and other matters, it is always a pleasure to speak with Senator Bill Hagerty on the Matt Murphy Show. Senator, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Matt. It's always great to be with you, too.
It's good to be with you. I need you in my life right now, Bill, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm so down right now. We watch this flood of illegal alien activity. We know that it is for the purpose of securing votes around the United States of America. They don't seem to think about or care about our safety and our security. And I need to be hopeful that there are people fighting the good fight in D.C. Help me out.
Well, I think there are some reasons to be optimistic. But first, I think the caution should be elevated. I hope that our listeners are watching what's happening in Washington right now. There's a lot of discussion about continuing the operation of the government beyond the 30th of September. And the White House has proposed something called a continuing resolution, typically something that would just maintain the status quo to move forward as we continue to process the appropriations bills and get this business of government done. And the reason it's backed up, by the way, is because Joe Biden would not even negotiate with Kevin McCarthy for 74 days. You remember this. It just backed up everything. Nothing changed the September 30th deadline, so we're basically running out of time. But with that said, the White House sends over what they're calling a clean continuing resolution to keep the business going and status quo. But appended to it is legislative language that would require us to concede to the Biden administration the authority to defund ICE. Yes, you heard me on page 51. They want the authority to completely reprogram, in Washington speak, ICE's budget. That's an $8.2 billion budget. They want the ability to reprogram those dollars, Matt, to turn them away from law enforcement and to turn the agency into a resettlement agency, meaning instead of buying tickets to send illegal aliens, many of them with violent criminal records, to send them back to their countries of origin, they want to take our taxpayer dollars and take these same illegal aliens and send them to a city or town near you and me. That is completely unbelievable. It's Biden's transformation of America. They talked about defunding ICE during the campaign back in 2020. This would achieve that, and we've got to stop it.
I understand why the Texas National Guard story is getting a lot of play, Senator, where the Texas National Guard is attempting to stop the illegal crossings in Eagle Pass. And as you well know, they've put up barriers, barbed wire, razor wire, and the like. And the federal government is removing that wire so that the illegal alien activity can continue. It's like that's one thing. That's a microcosm. What you're describing is the macrocosm, that the Biden administration wants to essentially gut, not defund, but gut ICE as we know it.
That's exactly right. The good news is this, Matt. You said you needed to be cheerful. The good news is that the House of Representatives is controlled by Republicans. And I met with them twice yesterday. I'm going to be talking with more of the House Republicans today. They are working hard to put in place a continuing resolution that actually includes border security to turn things back in the right direction. And they want to include the language of what is known as H.R. 2, but that's the border security bill. We've got to start turning the tide back. And I've told my House colleagues that if you can get this through, if you can get it passed through your conference, you'll give us here in the Senate, you'll give Republicans in the Senate something to get behind. And let's put Chuck Schumer in a position of saying he'd rather shut the government down than provide border security. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see that argument happen in the Senate next week. I hope we get it.
What do you think the outcome of that would be, though? Don't you think that they would prefer to toe the line of the Biden administration as opposed to present border security to the American people? I mean, I believe that they are willing to shut the government down in their effort to allow the illegal flood to continue.
Well, it will be interesting because the voices are now rising from their own side, Matt. And this is why I have some more optimism. You've heard Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, say that his city is being destroyed by illegal immigration. You're hearing these sounds coming from places like Chicago, these sanctuary cities, these deep blue cities are complaining mightily that they cannot handle the wave. Now, you think about their complaints compared to what Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, and the people of Texas are dealing with, the people of Arizona. Now it's happening in a blue city near Washington, and that is putting additional pressure on them. I hope that we can get from the House a continuing resolution that will put more pressure on them, and I intend to do everything I can next week. I had a press conference yesterday on this topic and do everything I can next week to keep the pressure up, to see if we can't turn this around. I was able to do it with the Biden administration's soft on crime policies once before. You may remember this. I blocked the D.C. City Council when they tried to reduce the penalties on major felonies like carjackings, homicides, and property theft. Joe Biden came out and said he's going to veto me. I kept telling the media when they would ask me, I don't know, this defund the police hasn't worked so well for them. And we wound up getting it through the Senate, House of Representatives. We had 171 Democrats vote against me, but we got it through. Joe Biden must have polled it. The White House must have polled it. They flipped. They signed the bill. They went along with me. So I'm hoping to have that same sort of pressure, and I hope to have a similar result.
Are there any Democrats in the Senate that you're hopeful that you can, let's say that, and I'm trying to be hopeful with you, Senator. So let's say they get it through the continuing resolution that involves border security as you described it through the House of Representatives, and it gets to the Senate. And while the Democrats have the majority in the Senate, are you hopeful? It would take several votes coming to your side of the matter. Votes that, names that we've heard in the past, like Manchin and others. Are you hopeful, and are you actively working to try to convince some of those on the other side of the aisle that it is in the best interest of the American people? Or do we have to have a shift in focus from the White House to accomplish this?
Well, I think, you know me, Matt, I always look at the numbers. And what we have in 2024 is 23 Democrats defending their seats, only 10 Republicans. This map lays out in an interesting way where you've got 3 Democrats serving in Republican states. Those are Joe Manchin, John Tester, and Sherrod Brown. They're going to have a very hard time voting, against us on this. Then you start to think about other states that may be in play, like Pennsylvania, like Nevada, Arizona, a border state. You can go on, and I can see how these senators would have a very difficult time responding to their own constituents that, yes, they voted to shut the government down rather than to protect our borders. And when you think about the cries coming from places like Chicago and New York about how these cities are being destroyed, the pressure is mounting on them, Matt, and it's our job to keep it up.
Is it possible for other states like Tennessee to, in some fashion, support states like Texas, Arizona, other border states that are, Texas in particular, trying to deal with this matter? Or do we have to rely on changes within the federal system? I understand that the courts have long given broad latitude to the federal government, and specifically the executive branch of the federal government in terms of border security. We see Texas trying to take it up on their own. Is there? I guess I'm asking: is there anything that we in the state of Tennessee can do to assist our brethren on these border states?
Well, in my press conference yesterday, Shelley Capito from West Virginia stepped up and gave the number of West Virginia National Guard that are now in Texas helping out their brethren in Texas on the ground. Same from Joni Ernst from Iowa. They've got National Guardsmen there. Governor Lee has sent a contingent of National Guard to the border. There is something that we can do at the state level. It's very frustrating, though, when you see the Biden administration going to court trying to stop Texas from protecting itself, basically taking up the barbed wire, the other things, the other barriers that they're trying to impose to keep this invasion in check. They're facilitating the invasion, and you and I talked about it before. The reason is very simple. It's what you said. It's about power for the Democrats. That's all this is.
Help us dive a little deeper, because on the surface, Senator, I want to shift gears to our burdensome debt. We just saw that we crossed the $33 trillion mark. It's difficult to conceive that we only got to $32 trillion some months ago, and now we've already exceeded $33 trillion. And when I bring this up, listeners to Supertalk 99.7 WTN invariably will say, we'll shut it down. Shut it down until we draw attention to the fact that we're overspending. I understand the dangers of shutting down the government and some of the pitfalls in doing so, but how do you speak to people that are concerned about the overspending and what it's going to mean for our children and grandchildren?
I think we are very concerned about that and should be. You talk about a level of debt that now exceeds our gross national product. It's going to continue to accelerate as well, Matt, because interest rates have gone up. So the cost of servicing this debt is going up dramatically as the bonds that were supporting it begin to roll off and they have to be replaced. with higher cost, more expensive interest rates. So it's going to accelerate if we don't get this back under control. What I hope to see from the House in the continuing resolution is an actual reduction in spending. They're talking about an 8% reduction for their continuing resolution. I think that sends the right signal to the marketplace. We've got to bring it under control. This is a global problem as well, Matt. I mean, we've got global debt at just a staggering level if you look at the major economies across the world. This is something that we've got to get under control. I hope that it happens sooner than later. And this message, we have an opportunity with this continuing resolution process to send just this message. Do we need to shut the government down to do that? I don't think so. And here's what will happen in the government shutdown. Each agency's worked out their plans, but they will stop paying the military. They will, they'll focus on stop paying retirement benefits, things of that nature that'll create maximum pain. They'll shut down the national parks. They'll shut down the passport service, things like that will create a lot of havoc, a lot of bedlam. That's what the administration wants. That's what Chuck Schumer wants. And a number of my colleagues believe that Chuck Schumer would love to see a government shutdown because he knows that he stands in position to lose the Senate in 2024. The map does not line up for him. All we need is 2 seats. I mentioned three Democrats that are in Republican states right now defending their seats in 2024. If he can have a government shutdown and successfully get his allies in the media to lay the blame on Republicans, then I think he'll have exactly what he wants. That's why I've been encouraging my Republican colleagues in the House, send us a conservative, as conservative as you can get, continuing resolution, and let's put the ball in Chuck Schumer's court. And let's see. Let's really test him and see if he's willing to shut the government down in order to leave our borders in the catastrophe that they're in right now.
Senator Bill Hagerty is with us for just a couple of additional moments. A couple of quick hitters, Senator, that I'm certain are on your radar screen. While the House Oversight Committee is doing some of the heavy lifting regarding Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the scandal that plagues the Biden family, we now have an impeachment inquiry in the other body. How closely are you monitoring this, and how much do you expect this to get to the Senate? In other words, do you have an anticipation that this will rise to the level of an actual impeachment in the House of Representatives?
Well, Matt, I certainly don't think the House of Representatives is being as flippant as Nancy Pelosi was. She impeached Donald Trump twice on very, very flimsy, evidence. And,
sure.
And we found out much later that it was falsified by the Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton's campaign. Just amazing what they were willing to do on the other side. I think what you're seeing the House do is they're moving at pace. The evidence continues to mount. As you look at the emails, as you look at the traffic that's gone on here, that Joe Biden, in fact, despite all of his claims to the contrary, Joe Biden was deeply involved in his family's influence peddling operation. And we all know who the big guy is. I don't know why this seems to be such a hard mystery to unravel. But they are getting closer and closer, and the hotter it gets, the more pressure you see the Biden administration putting on their main political opponent, Donald Trump. So it's fascinating. It's embarrassing as a nation to have something like this happen. I'm on the Foreign Relations Committee. I deal with foreign leaders all the time. This is an incredible embarrassment to our nation, and to see the Department of Justice being weaponized as it has been, the FBI being weaponized as it has been, it really is a shame. It's something we've got to get to the bottom of, and I applaud the House of Representatives for taking this in a responsible manner, for moving at pace. I'm very frustrated with the Department of Justice. I had Merrick Garland tell me last year that they were not interfering with the investigation by U.S. Attorney Weiss in Delaware. Well, I will remind you, he kept saying Weiss was a Trump appointee. Weiss was a Trump appointee in Delaware, and a lot of people don't know how it works in the Senate. But to get confirmed, the 2 Delaware senators, mind you, Joe Biden's home state, the 2 Delaware senators had to sign off on that U.S. attorney appointment. So they were deeply involved in who it would be. That was probably the best the Trump administration could get through. But you have somebody in Weiss who has been all over the map in terms of his, contradicting explanations. What we have is whistleblowers came forward after they saw Garland say what he did to me, that there was no political interference, that Weiss had complete latitude. They came forward and said absolutely not the case. You've seen these whistleblowers step up. They risked their careers to do it. They know this wasn't right. They know that Garland was misleading the public. And we've got a serious, serious problem at the DOJ that we've got to get to the bottom.
2 more quick ones from me, Senator, and then my producer, Bel K, has one quick question to ask you as well. One, Senator Tommy Tuberville. I don't know how close you are to Senator Tuberville. We've talked about what he's doing in the past, but I think he has forced the capitulation. He has proven that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was not telling the truth when he said that he could push through appointment processes in the proper manner if he desired to do so, and Chuck Schumer has blinked, has he not?
Absolutely. Tuberville held his guns. People kept coming to me and saying, you know, they're putting a lot of pressure on Tommy Tuberville. Do you think he'll cave? Tommy Tuberville was the coach of Auburn. There's no way Chuck Schumer can put pressure on Tommy Tuberville that he's going to cave into. And what Tommy has done, he told General Austin this, General Austin being the Secretary of Defense right now, that if you misuse the military for this social justice stuff, for providing abortions, misusing the military to do these sorts of things, there will be a consequence for this. Austin did it anyway. Tommy held to his guns. Schumer could have put these generals through months ago. He's just been trying to mislead the public, and the media have gone right along with it. Look, I had to go through cloture to be confirmed as U.S. ambassador to Japan. It took me 30 hours. That's now been reduced down to 2 hours. He could have confirmed 15 generals in the time it took me to get through cloture. This has been a tool at Schumer's disposal the entire time. All Tommy Tuberville did was saying, I'm not going to consent to accelerate the process because you guys did exactly what you shouldn't have done. I told you it would happen, and by golly, he stuck to his guns, and Schumer blinked, as you said.
And the final thought, because I know we're limited on time, comes from our own Bel Kay, who is our executive producer. We know that Chuck Schumer, for his own reasons, and I suppose we all suppose that it has to do with Senator John Fetterman, suspended the rules of the United States Senate with regard to decorum and the expectation that the Senate has as to how you're going to dress on the floor of the body. My producer, Bell, Senator, has a great idea about how we can protest this abandonment of the rules. Bell, you want to speak to the senator about it?
Yeah, since they don't really worry anymore about what you're wearing on the Senate floor, would you be willing to go one time to the floor in a Motley Crue T-shirt?
The answer is absolutely not.
I'll get you the shirt.
Even though I love Motley Crue.
Whoa, that's news that Senator Bill Haggerty loves Motley Crue. There you go.
That's pretty cool, actually.
I had the chance to meet them. But the Senate needs to, I mean, this is just part and parcel of the Democrats' attempt to degrade the institutions of America. And I don't think you have any senators that want to see this happen except for maybe one or two. So I signed on to a letter today that with Joe Manchin to demand that the male members of the Senate wear a suit and show proper respect. That's what our constituents would expect of us. I want to represent Tennessee well, and I want to reflect the respect to the institution that I have for it. Well,
Senator, you strike me more as a home sweet home guy more than shout at the devil. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that next time around. We can talk about different Motley Crue albums. Listen, that's the surprise of the interview, that you've met Motley Crue and you're a fan of Motley Crue. Look, thank you for how you represent the state of Tennessee. We appreciate your time today. Come see us very soon, and we'll talk to you again.
All right, Matt. Thanks very much.
All right, take care. There's Senator Bill Haggerty. The best question of that interview was not asked by me. It was asked by Bel Kay because it got Senator Haggerty. He's met the band.
He's a fan.
You know, my career's made if I can get him in studio singing "Shout at the Devil." You know what I mean? Maybe give him one of these.
All I asked was that he wear a piece of clothing.
He
I
said
don't think you're going to get that on
not.
video.
He said absolutely no, no.
Yeah, he said no to me. I don't think you're going to get a yes.
Probably not. It's 154, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Not only is it a big and bright showroom, 35,000 square feet, not only do they have more Glock handguns than you can imagine, not only do they have other types of handguns, long guns as well, they've got a huge selection of ammo, accessories, and performance parts. Matter of fact, you buy a part at the Glock store and they'll install it for free while you wait. I'm talking parts like, I don't know, night sights or extended controls. Whatever you buy, they'll install it for free while you wait. They got gunsmiths on site. Helpful employees galore at the world-famous Glock store as well. Here's the great thing. When you walk through the door, they're going to assess your level of gun expertise, and then they're going to talk to you in a way that doesn't talk down to you, but at the same time talks to you in a way that you can understand it. So they have plenty of people that come in that are intimidated, that have never handled a gun in their life, but they want to protect themselves and protect their family. They're going to help you out. And they not only sell you a gun, they also train you in their incredible shooting rooms how to properly use that gun that you purchased. That's what it's all about at the world-famous Glock Store. Go to glockstore.com, glockstore.com, or shoot270.com for more information about how they can assist you. Stop by on Airlane Drive just off of Elm Hill Pike and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to McGill's world-famous Glock Store.
2:01, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 84 degrees in Nashville. Complete weather forecast on the way. With elections looming in some Eastern European countries, Ukraine could be losing some support from key allies. Ines de la Catera.
With elections looming in Poland, the government saying it isn't sending any new weapons to Ukraine and is only carrying out arms deliveries that were previously agreed to. The country's prime minister adding that Poland, a NATO member, is no longer arming Ukraine and is instead focusing on rebuilding its own weapon stocks. Elections will also soon be held in Slovakia, where a pro-Russian populist who has said Slovakia would not send a single round to Ukraine is leading in the polls.
And President Biden is going to announce a new package of aid headed to Ukraine, and this will not include long-range missiles known as ATACMS, and Zelensky was asking for those. The U.S. is training Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets, but the actual jets are being donated by Denmark and the Netherlands. A shooting in Tennessee. Channel 4 reports that one man is dead, and officials are on the lookout for the suspects after a shooting at the Grandview Apartments last night. The man was found shot in the chest, later died at a hospital. Witnesses say they saw a dark-colored vehicle with tinted windows leaving the scene. Anyone else with information is asked to call Clarksville police. And some new developments in the case of two Utah YouTubers accused of child abuse. One is a mother who had a popular parenting channel on YouTube. Alex Stone.
According to newly released search warrants, Jody Hildebrandt, the business partner of mother Ruby Frankie, allegedly used cayenne pepper and honey to dress the injuries of the children kept in her basement. One search warrant was seeking rope, duct tape, and anything else consistent with child abuse. In one warrant, officers said they found a 12-year-old victim with duct tape around their ankles and who was emaciated. The warrant saying that child had open wounds. The two women are being held and due in court next month.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Now, I talk often about my experience with the Dr. Gill Center, where the Dr. Gill Center, Dr. Wendy literally, she diagnosed a spinal compression in my neck that I was unaware of. And she helped alleviate permanently the pain that I was experiencing in my upper neck. Now, my lower back the pain has been alleviated to the point that I don't have to take pills any longer, and I'm not considering what was the specter of back surgery some years ago. Now I don't have to worry about that. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center. And now they're helping with your knee pain as well. If you're experiencing knee pain, it's time to stop the knee pain with the Dr. Gill Center, because they can help reduce inflammation in the body, reduce pain by reducing swelling and accelerating healing. Regardless of where the pain might be, they can assist you at the Dr. Gill Center through their modern technology like the Class 5 laser systems, the red light therapy, and of course, spinal decompression. Spinal decompression that Dr. Gill brought to Nashville and Middle Tennessee so many years ago. So give them a call for an appointment today, 615-882-4838. 882-4838 is the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. It is 2:07 and a good afternoon. Glad you're with us. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You and myself for the next hour or so. We'll hand off to Brian Wilson in the drive. We'll find out what Brian's got going on in about 40 minutes or so. And then he's off to the races and we're off to the house. 615-737-9986. I feel better. I feel like I've gotten a little of this off my chest, although I have to admit to you, and for those of you waiting on the phone lines prior to our interview with Senator Bill Hagerty, we didn't want you to wait, so line them back up, 615-737-9986. We've been discussing specifically the situation at the southern border and the reaction that the Biden administration has had to it. Instead of realizing they must do something about the porous nature of the southern border, they continue to double and triple and quadruple down on their belief that the best answer is to allow anyone and everyone to come into the United States of America that wants to come here, regardless of their background, regardless of their intent, regardless of who they are. Allow them in. If they want to do harm to the American populace, so be it. I've said for years, and I want to go back to a few of the comments being made by Senator Hagerty in a moment, but I've been down today. If you're just joining us, I'm kind of down because I don't see a lot of future for the United States of America. I just don't. Sadly, if we are to allow anyone and everyone to come into our country that wants to be in our country, I don't know how this ends other than badly. And that got me down at the beginning of the show. Because these things end with political disagreements becoming impasses. Are we not at the impasse stage? Where we can't even agree on the facts. You confront political liberals with the fact that our border is being overrun by unknown individuals with unknown intent, and they'll deny it. Alejandro Mayorkas sat before a session of Congress and said the border's secure. Back at a time when Kamala Harris would actually claim to be the border czar, and she would interview with people that might ask her mildly uncomfortable or difficult questions. She was asked the mildly uncomfortable or difficult question, is the border secure? I mean, that's actually a hard question for Democrats. Hey, guys, is the border secure? And we see, 10,000 people in a 24-hour period this week. 10,000 people. That's more people than will go to the Vandy game the next time they're at home. You see, that's an unforced error on the part of Murphy. I can't help myself. I have to do that, right? I have to drag Vandy fans into this. That's not right.
So mean.
It's not right.
So mean. They're just sitting here like, going, wait, what?
They're just sitting around, anchor down. Go, Murph. We love you, man.
Love you, man.
Go, Commodore. What? What'd he say?
Hey, whoa.
Oh. Actually, that's on my mind because you know what did you see me? You see what I did last night?
Yeah.
I have to throw a line in the water. You know why? Because I don't want to pay these third parties the amount of money that they want. All right,
It's ridiculous.
Let me downshift for a second. So I want to go to the Vandy, Georgia game. Georgia is visiting in Nashville. It seems only appropriate that I go see my beloved Bulldogs.
Of course. They're gracious enough to go to a high school stadium and play. It's really nice.
Now, see, you're doing it. Now, see, I brought you in to soften the Murphy blow.
I'm a Vols fan. I can't do that.
I can't. You can't help yourself. But isn't it like? Look, I love Vandy fans. I love all of you Commodores out there. But do you understand how much those people love football? Oh, glory, glory to old Georgia.
Oh,
glory, glory to old Georgia. Let's beat that UAB. Playing the old Blazers this weekend.
Gotcha. Nice.
I heard, it was McGee. Ryan McGee said this. A Tennessee Vol himself.
Yeah.
A graduate from the University of Tennessee. And
He's
you
great.
watch Marty McGee, love Ryan McGee, love Marty Smith. Ryan McGee said this. He said, do you understand how much Vandy fans love football? They put their heart and soul in a game that rarely, if ever, gives them anything back.
Nothing.
I mean, and I have a great appreciation for that.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, so anyway, I'm not here to kick on a puppy, which is what now Mac Morey's here, and he wants me to kick on the puppy. By the way, did you see the latest in the Dadgummit. Puppy died. Did you see the latest in the investigation on the Donald Trump photo? We have some suspects.
Oh, do we?
Yes. If you check out my Twitter feed, you'll see that I've put photos of the primary suspects in the vandalism that occurred at some point over the last 24 hours in the studios of Super Talk 99.7.
That does count as snitching.
What? I promised Hand that I was on the case.
That counts as snitching.
I promised Hand that I would be Starsky to his Hutch, that I would be Cagney to his Lacey,
Wow.
that I would be Jake to his Fat Man, that I would be Telly to his Savalas. I don't know. That I would be
Rachel to his Ross.
Jessica to his Fletcher. Rachel to his Ross. Anyway, so yeah, there's latest developments. You can find out more at Matt Murphy's show, where we have the two primary suspects.
Mm-hmm. My foot to your hiney. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But anyway, back to the point. So I you know what, frankly, it does my heart good to talk about football rather than to talk about the poor southern border. So I thought I would cast a line because do you want to guess, without looking, McMorey, you know enough about football, a decent seat on around midfield, like between the 35s, on the visitor side of the stadium, Vanderbilt, whatever they call their stadium. What is that? No, Kroger Field's in Kentucky. I don't know. Whatever it is. How much per ticket? Like, let's say 40-yard line, 40 rows up.
$200? $250?
$250.
Man.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot for a Georgia Vandy game, man. It's a lot.
Per ticket?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, thanks.
Per ticket.
And is that with the fees? Are they showing fees now?
Well, that's kind of with fees.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm wondering, I'm willing to pay money. I'm willing to pay for the tickets. And so I threw a line out there and said, look, I'm just trying to avoid the fees. And all of the organizations do the fees. So if you can do a direct, hey, if you guys have tickets and you want to get rid of them, I'm willing to buy them.
Yeah.
And I promised to be good. That was my promise. Because I know that I'm talking to a lot of Vandy fans. And so I made a commitment that I would be good. And our colleague over at the sports station, Brent Daugherty, wanted to know what that meant. What good
being good meant?
To define that.
What he said was good at what? Because I said, hey, I'm looking for Vandy, Georgia tickets. I promised to be good. He said, good at what? And so since he asked, I've answered him. Good at, number one, rooting.
Yes, sir.
Number two, drinking.
Yeah.
Number three, whooping doors. Number four, eating. And number five, and this is only if Georgia covers and I get donated bail money, streaking.
Yeah.
So in that order, Rooting, drinking, whooping, eating, and streaking.
Oh, I love it. I believe you could be good at all
story
that.
about the guy who was walking naked through DFW airport.
Did you see the video?
The video.
The video is amazing.
He's just casually strolling around.
And then the guy that's doing the video, if you see the audio, if you got to do it with the audio, right?
Yes.
There's a video of this guy that's just walking through Dallas Airport, just naked as a jaybird, day he was born. And the guy doing the video goes, so we got, this is what we're dealing with. We got a naked guy. And when he says naked guy, the guy hears him and he's pointing, hey, what's up? It's like,
yeah, the guy video was like, yeah, man. You know, like, what?
Well, at least he didn't go, wait, what do you mean naked? Who, you talking about me?
I'm naked? What?
I'm naked. What? In-person new clothes?
I mean, you don't get arrested for being naked in public anymore?
And he was walking right by airport staff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're just, oh, look, naked guy. There he
I
is.
think he'd have a pair of Levi's on and a T-shirt the way he was walking. It was
I know. He's just. I'm just going to the burger joint down here.
up?
Just get me some fries at Five Guys, man. No problem.
Hey, can I borrow your lotion?
Oh, God.
Come on. What? He's feeling ashy. A little ashy. I need some lotion. Well, it puts the lotion on at Skinner. It will get the hose again. So anyway, rooting, drinking, whooping, eating, and streaking. If Georgia covers and I get donated bail money, I'll consider it.
What was the spread?
It's a couple of weeks. I would, as long as Georgia handles business. We've got UAB this weekend. We've got Auburn next weekend, and then we've got
just schedule.
We've got Kentucky. I think we've got Kentucky before Vandy. I don't think Vandy's till like the 14th.
Oh, so you've got a minute.
So we got a few minutes. I'm horrible at this, but I would guess if Georgia's undefeated, Georgia will be a 38-point.
Wow.
I mean, right?
You're probably right. I was thinking more low 30s, but you're right. If you guys do what you need to do, get that offense a little step up. Yeah.
Vandy's not very good.
Bad.
They're not.
That's the word.
They're just not.
They're never very good, though, are they?
Yeah. I mean, you know what?
No.
They're not very good at football, but they'll employ us all at some point or another. And that's what they've got going for them. I mean, Vandy's a baseball school. They're good at baseball.
Great at baseball.
They're great at baseball. They're you know what? I went and watched Vandy take care of Auburn in basketball last year. Pretty good at basketball.
They actually are building a little bit of a basketball program, too. That's fair.
So there you go. Matt, if a guy can say he's a woman and change in the woman's locker room, why can't a naked guy say he's clothed and walk around the airport? You know what? That's right. When there are no more facts, when there are no more standards, you're right. Anyone can say anything about anything they want, and who are you to tell them any different? It was the brilliance of, remember the city councilman, I want to say he was in Ohio somewhere, that just started saying that he was a female?
A black female.
Like a female of color. And they're like, wait a minute, no, you're not. How dare you question me? I am identifying as and he just never dressed like a female of color, never did anything different in his personality. Just said, I'm a female of color, and you have to treat me as
all he
such.
did was add the claim. Didn't change anything else, just said, I'm now a woman of color.
Because that's the standard that's been presented by the political left. 1468 wants me to correct the record that in addition to being pretty good at basketball, middle of the pack, and really good at baseball, that the Vanderbilt Commodores are incredible at ladies bowling. Why are you laughing? What?
Basket weaving's really good.
Three natty titles. I've seen you bowl.
Hey, no. I am better than that. We'll have to do a rematch.
I've seen it.
It was poor.
It was not good.
It was poor.
I think I was the only one to break 100 that night.
Yeah, you were doing good.
I need my own ball, my own shoes.
You got a ball?
Nope.
My mom's got a ball.
But I feel like if I had one, maybe I would invest the time to be a little bit better in bowling. All right, more coming up on the Biden administration and their shameful actions on the southern border. We'll get into that in just a moment. $33 trillion in debt. We've been talking about that. And I don't even know what Paw Patrol is.
Kids show. Children.
It's kind of it's a hypothetical setup for the tease because it's 20 after the hour bell. Thank you. I love how quick you've got my back. Now, I do appreciate it, But I'm like, here's Murphy. I'm going to set up the tease. I'm going to try to encourage people to engage the show. I don't even know what Paw Patrol is. Will someone help me out? It's a children's show, you moron. Okay.
I did not say moron out loud.
You thought it. 220 on Super Talk.
More aid to Ukraine from the United States, rape in Tennessee, plus Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticizing former President Donald Trump in an interview. That and more, 2:30 Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Maury. Also, Joe Biden, the current occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, is set to meet with Vladimir Zelensky at the White House, obviously ready to sign over more money, more of the American taxpayer dollar. Where are we on Ukraine? I mean, I feel like universally, the listening audience of the Matt Murphy Show, if it's not, I don't know that anything would be 100%. But on this matter, I have to feel like we're getting close. The American people are against this. It is an endless conflict with no resolution in sight. Yet the Biden administration has decided to continue to give more and more and more of our taxpayer dollars to the cause. I said from the beginning that unless I was told a specific objective by way of some form of announcement from the White House or the military-industrial complex or whatever, that I was going to be against this. I cannot continue to abide needless conflict and engagement in said conflict for the purpose of enriching contractors across the United States of America toward no other American interest. Now, I've heard many say that it is an American interest that we continue to put Russia in their place, or we make sure that Russia understands that we remain one of the superpowers that they have to deal with because they're getting more and more chummy to China. But we have given $135 billion to the Ukrainians. We've given, and that's money plus armaments plus, jets. What exactly are we attempting to accomplish? Because they're not winning. The only thing that we're walking ourselves to is war with Russia. Because once you get to a certain breaking point, the only other answer is to send into it. Okay, what is the next step when the money doesn't work? I'm going to ask that question of all of you in just a moment. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Right now, it's my former FedEx guy from the Grand Old RV Resort, Convalescence Home, and Bat Meat Market. I don't get to see him anymore. He doesn't come see me in Mount Juliet. What's up, Lucian?
Brother, how come every time I get in the car, turn on the radio, go to pick up my daughter from school, you're talking about streaking?
It's true.
What's up with that?
Well,
what's up with that?
Look,
didn't you learn your lesson on the motorcycle when you got pulled over by the cop?
Man, you listen too closely. I don't like that. You actually listen to my stories, and yes, I should have learned my lesson. But here's where I'm comfortable in this announcement. We now have Mike Bobo as our offensive coordinator, who could not cover a bed if he was a sheet. And Mike Bobo has no ability to cover any spread. So I have all the confidence in the world that Vanderbilt will play it closer than the experts anticipate. And I will remain, Lucian, fully clothed. That's what I believe.
Well, I hope so, because here's my personal bet. I'm throwing it down right here in front of God and everybody. If your Bulldogs and my Wolverines ever play again and we win, you're buying the cigars.
What happened the last time we met up on the field? I'm trying to remember.
I'm thinking that I was glad that you moved to Mount Juliet and I didn't have to see you the next day, see you Monday morning. That's what I'm thinking is what happened.
Well, at least we dispatched of the Buckeyes last year for you. That had to make you feel pretty good.
Ohio State Suckeyes. You mispronounced it.
Oh, my apologies. I heard our buddy Ron Slay talk about Kentucky the other day, and I thought he misspoke, and then I was told no, he did not misspeak. That's what he says. So yeah, I get it. All right, my friend. Well, I'll try to clean up my act now that I know that your daughter is in the car there. Joe Biden's not cleaning up his act. He's ready to pull out the checkbook and write another check to Vladimir Zelensky. And many of you are weighing in. How does the executive branch, writes 1206, have access to this much money? Did Congress approve? It's taxation without representation. Of course it is. Brandy says, I don't think the money's going to Ukraine and the war effort at all. I don't either. I think a lot of it's going to Vladimir Zelensky. Zelensky does not wear a white hat. I understand that Vladimir Putin is a bad guy. Zelensky is not a good guy. Zelensky does not believe in the democracy that we understand as Americans. He does not believe in a free and open press. He does not believe in the freedom to worship religions of your choosing in his country. Their idea of quote-unquote democracy is decidedly different than what our idea of quote-unquote democracy would be. Not that the mainstream media would tell you that, because they're too busy explaining that Russia wears the black hats and Ukraine wears the white hats. And that's not necessarily true. In the meantime, many of you are telling me that the Buckeyes should have beat us. Well, shoulda, woulda, coulda. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. 31 after the... Did you hear where they can't get over it? The athletic director of Ohio State came out like this week and just made some pronouncement that if Marvin Harrison Jr. had been in the game the entire game, that they would have won.
Please.
But guess what?
That's not the way it works.
That's not the way it works. When you get hurt, when you go through concussion protocol, you have to stay out of the game.
Next man up.
That's the way that works. So, I don't know what to tell you. It's 2:31, Super Talk 99.7, WTN. I'm not coming at this just all willy-nilly ad hoc, people.
.231, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 85 degrees, a sunny day on Music Row. Expecting a pretty sunny next couple of days. A slight chance of showers on Sunday. No severe weather. Full weather forecast in 2 minutes. The Pentagon announcing it is releasing more aid to Ukraine as that nation's president visits Washington. Andy Field.
The latest aid to Ukraine is from money already approved by Congress.
What you can expect the package to include will be more air defense and artillery capabilities to support the Ukrainian armed forces.
Pentagon spokesman General Pat Ryder. U.S. has already sent more than $130 billion in aid to Ukraine. President Biden asking Congress for $24 billion more, which is stalled, passing a budget in the House.
Crime in Tennessee. A 32-year-old evangelist, Benjamin Garlick of Murfreesboro, has been charged with rape and sexual battery. These charges are connected to alleged actions from 2021. And his wife, Chantal Garlick, is also charged with a facilitation of rape and child abuse. She's been released on a $75,000 bond, while he's being held on a $750,000 bond. They'll be arraigned in 5 days. Election 2024. In an exclusive interview with Lindsey Davis, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticized Donald Trump for calling Florida's 6 weeks abortion ban terrible.
He claimed to be pro-life. He spoke at the March for Life and was waxing eloquently about how everybody counts. For him to then attack people like Iowa, South Carolina, Florida, all these other states, I thought was a big mistake.
And the entire interview airs tonight on Prime on ABC News Live at 6 o'clock Middle Tennessee time. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
When you walk into the Safe House on 4th Avenue South across from City Cemetery, you probably will see Mark himself. You'll see one of the great staff of Nashville Safe House. Wave at them, say hello, tell them Matt Murphy sent you. You'll also see some incredible vintage safes in the lobby, which are pretty cool. You'll see the Employee of the Year 2 years running for Mark in the Safe House. You know who that is? Joe Biden. Joe Biden's done more to sell safes at Nashville Safe House than anybody, because Joe Biden does more to make you feel less safe. And when you feel less safe with your country, you want to feel more safe in your home and with your family. You want to do more to protect your family, and that sells safes at Nashville Safe House. Plus, they have an incredible selection. They've got great prices. They charge you for delivery. They don't lie like the other guys and claim that it's free. It's not free. When you're delivering something that big and heavy, you need to charge for it, and they do at Nashville Safe House. They charge you as little as they can, but they charge to deliver it. They don't let crackheads deliver your safe. They actually know the combination, believe it or not. Prices are going up on most everything, but not so at the Safe House. They're keeping their prices low. They've got rebates on Brownings. They've got rebates on other models of safes. Just go go and ask them and tour the showroom. You will not believe the amount of safes that you see at Nashville Safe House. And remember to tell them that I sent you to Nashville Safe House. Jewelry, corporate, gun, whatever your thoughts, they've got a safe for you at Nashville Safe House. 4th Avenue South in Nashville or NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Something flew by me moments ago that I need to circle back to. By the way, it's 2:39. We'll check in with Brian Wilson coming up in moments. He of the Drive. That's coming up at 3 o'clock, but Brian will be here a little before that. We'll also get to your telephone calls momentarily. But I asked a question about, 15 minutes ago. It was kind of a rhetorical question. And it was, I don't even know what Paw Patrol is. What's Paw Patrol? And I was doing so in the form of a tease to, draw some people out and get their thoughts. And Bell K, you notice, Maury, where Bell just jumped on it.
It's a kid's show.
How the hell does Bell K know what Paw Patrol is?
It's a children's show about dogs. It's a cartoon.
Uh-huh.
And the dogs are like, kind of superhero cop kind of situation.
Instead of answering the question, he's now giving you more details.
Right.
Making you even more confused.
Intimate details about a show that, by all accounts, a grown-ass man should have never seen.
I disagree with that. I like cartoons. I'm sorry.
Now, see, I like cartoons, too. I'm a Bob's Burgers guy. Love Bob's Burgers. It's my favorite. It might be my favorite show. Not even mine. It's my favorite show on television right now that doesn't involve live news or live sports.
Not every cartoon needs to have cursing in it.
Bob's Burgers doesn't have cursing in it.
Yeah, close enough.
I mean, Bob's Burgers is a lighter fare than like a Family Guy, which my wife, I don't get this. She loves South Park and hates Family Guy. Does anybody else get that?
I'm the opposite.
I love them both.
You love Family Guy and hate South Park?
I don't hate it. I just don't get it as much.
It's not. I love them both, too. I think they're different blends of humor, but I kind of dig it. So tell me a little more about Paw Patrol, Belle. Why are you so woke?
Man, kids got to learn somehow.
Have you not learned anything from Robbie Starbuck's appearances on the Matt Murphy radio show?
Look, I don't want to hear from Robbie Starbuck. He cut his hair. He's a traitor. I'm done with him.
It's still pretty long. I saw him the other night. It's still pretty long. It's not quite long enough to get it up in the ponytail anymore, but it's still there. It's not short by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe this is why you and him are a little have differences of opinion on Paw Patrol. So apparently Paw Patrol has gone woke. Recent episode of the children's animated series Rubble and Crew, which is a Paw Patrol spinoff, has been greeted with applause by some on the left for breaking new ground and criticism by conservatives because they have introduced a non-binary character. Why? I don't understand. Well, it's indoctrination. There's only one real explanation for this. Why do we insist that children of an age inappropriate for the types of discussions that are going on be exposed to this type of thing? Why do you not trust that these children will be taught by their parents what they need to be taught about these sexual matters? Well, it's simple. When you talk about grooming, that's what this is. The concern by the makers of and I'm not one to fall into this, boycott this and boycott that and boycott. I don't know Paw Patrol from Adam's House Cat, but I know this. The only reason to introduce non-binary characters is you do not trust that the parents of the kids watching your show will present this transgender movement in a way that you approve of.
1502 has a good question. Is it non-binary because it's a neutered dog? Has it been spayed?
Call him Bob Barker.
Oh, stop it.
That'd be good. Yeah, Barker,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol looks like something that I might watch a few minutes of after I've had a few cocktails. That's about it. But I do know this. The only reason why someone would introduce, the age of a child watching Paw Patrol is what? 8?
Oh, top end.
Top end?
Yeah.
So 6?
6, 7 is probably the average. And
why would you introduce a non-binary character to a show that's geared towards 6-year-olds? Other than that you do not like or trust how their parents are going to teach them about issues involving sexuality and non-binary issues. And so you're trying to get in front of a parent, and is that not by definition grooming their children? That is by definition grooming a child.
And the writer that's bringing this in has done this on other shows, too.
Is it a neutered dog on the spinoff? That's pretty good. Sean writes in, and I won't use the exact language, but, they feel like they die off if they don't recruit. I don't know. I don't know if that's so or not. I know there's only one reason to do this, and that is to influence the thought processes of the child, which is a long time page out of the playbook of the political left. They've been doing it for a long time. 2714 says, in order, Bob's Burgers, South Park, Family Guy, then way way down the list, Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol's not on my list. I don't consider it in the same genre. All right, 45 after the hour. We will check in with Larry real quick before we check in with Brian Wilson right after the break. Hey, Larry, good to hear from you. How are you, sir?
Hey, brother, I'm doing great. Thanks for taking my call.
Are you a fan of Paw Patrol, Larry?
I know it's hard to believe, but no.
Yeah, that is hard to believe.
I know, and, a couple of quick comments and a serious question. If I was crossing the Rio Grande, I would definitely save you before myself.
Oh.
I'd probably think twice about Mac, just because he's the KC fan.
Yeah, that's solid. Yes.
And, Dan, it wouldn't be a question, because if I was even a foot underwater, he would still be underwater too, because, he's just not that tall.
You'd be actively holding his head under the water.
Well, we'll talk about that another day.
And Belle, we wouldn't have to worry about it because Belle's a witch, and everyone knows that witches float.
Right.
Well, but listen, my beard is now longer than Robbie Starbuck's hair.
I've just decided I don't think I need to be lectured by anybody with as long a hair as Larry and Belle K and Robbie Starbuck about anything involving binary.
All right, so here's my serious question. And I want a serious answer. All this money that is going to Ukraine, not just the weapons. I'm kind of okay with the weapons, even though now we have depleted our own military's weapons. All of the cash that is going to Ukraine, I want accountability for that. I want to know how much of that is going back to Joe Biden and his syndicate.
Well, and that's the point. We don't know, Larry, and thank you for the question. It's a serious question that merits a serious answer. There is no accountability for any of this money. Forget the arms, you're right. We can have a basic accounting for the amount of tanks or the amount of guns or the amount of ammunition that we send to Ukraine, but there is no accounting for the money once it gets to the Ukrainian side. We have no idea what it's being spent on or what it's not being spent on. 248 Supertalk 99.7 WTN. We'll check in with Brian Wilson next, see what's going on the drive. It's Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
A possible government shutdown, a bus driver suing WeGo, a threat at a Nashville daycare, plus a pretty crazy story, including Google navigation. That and more. 3 o'clock Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, McMaury. Wrapping up our portion of the broadcast day, anticipating Brian Wilson and The Drive coming up in mere moments. So the general consensus is Paw Patrol is for ages 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And it's way, way too young for any of these children to have any discussion about non-binary characters, which is ridiculous on its face. I'll tell you a guy who's not ridiculous. He's Brian Wilson. He joins us. Brian, do you have a favorite? I announced my favorite cartoon is Bob's Burgers. I like a good cartoon every now and again. I was a big Flintstones guy back in the day. You have a favorite cartoon?
I do, and it's old school. I love the old Warner Brother cartoons, and chief among them is the Roadrunner. I love Roadrunner Coyote. If I see it, I stop and watch it. It has to be the unedited versions, because there was a time when they took out about half of the cartoon because they didn't want to show any violence on TV. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I ever saw. But I love the old Roadrunner. Mainly, I love the voice characterizations of Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc. Absolutely.
He was amazing and was so good. And in fact, the reason there is a Roadrunner cartoon is because Mel Blanc had a bad accident. And Warner Brother realized all of these characters that Mel Blanc does, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Yosemite Sam and the whole 9 yards, he did all of those voices. And they realized we need to have a cartoon that doesn't require a voice characterization because, something might happen to Mel Blanc one day. And so they developed the Roadrunner, which has no dialogue.
You see, this is why you ask the questions, because you get this type of info. I had no idea that was the case. That's pretty cool.
Seriously? I'm a font of knowledge. I really am.
Oh, no, but I will admit that as much as I loved Bugs Bunny and the rest of the characters, Yosemite Sam, Elmer Fudd, Daffy Duck, I always was frustrated. Even as a child, I remember being frustrated with the Roadrunner because I felt like Wile E. Coyote was never going to get a fair shake.
And that is the entire point of the Roadrunner.
What's up this afternoon on The Drive, Brian?
Well, I am looking at the pictures, which are just amazing, that are coming out of our southern border. Bill Maloogian has been down there on the at Eagle Pass, Texas, where it is absolutely out of control. The Biden administration sort of had gotten a pass on having to talk about the border situation because the only people covering it was Fox. Well, now CNN's got correspondents down there. And in the briefing room today, Karine Jean-Pierre had to answer a whole bunch of questions about what is going on the southern border and what are you going to do about it. And so now it's become an issue. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the Biden administration deals with that because they've been given a pass until now.
Well, we'll be listening, we'll be watching, we'll be paying close attention to the southern border. Obviously, we've been discussing it on our show today as well. Right. And you're right. It is front and center, is front burner and was with Karine Jean-Pierre all day.
And just let me say, in parting.
It just wears me out to no end. There's Brian Wilson. He's coming up in mere moments with The Drive on Super Talk 99.7. And if you weren't listening yesterday, you have no idea what that scream means. I hope you were listening, though. I hope you listen every single day. And yes, to answer so many of you on the Super Text line, I'm aware of Speedy Gonzalez. You can't do Speedy Gonzalez anymore. It's cultural appropriation. I used to have a hell of a, hello, Speedy. This is Slowpoke Rodriguez. Remember Speedy's cousin, Slowpoke Rodriguez?
Mel did both those voices.
I know he did. Speedy was on the methamphetamines, and Slowpoke Rodriguez was on the dope. At least that's the way I understand it. Brian Wilson and The Drive coming up next. Back tomorrow at noon. Until then, so long.